all the readings, we will go through that. So broadly, the agenda for this session will be that we will talk about digital transformation and data-driven innovation in different industries. We look at a little bit on smart energy for smart cities, and we'll also talk about how organizations need to change to embrace this transformation for executing any data-driven or digital transformation. Before we start, that was my original idea, that spend some time, maybe another next 10 minutes, trying to think of, are they able to see the slides? Are you able to see?
Just a minute. Yes, slides.
Slides is to be So I will request all of you, you can even work in groups if you want, to choose a particular problem related to sustainability. Now it is now coming here. Yeah, it should. Because this is not coming in the...
It's coming. It's coming. They are working on it.
So broadly what I am requesting you is try to choose a problem which will follow through in this course every day. When in the evening sessions we will have some tutorial, we will have different case studies, but keep this problem in your mind. Whatever you think you are passionate about, it can be a company related problem or an industry problem, or even a local area where you live or the communities, anything related to sustainability and resilience. As I said, either related to a specific company or an industry or a specific region or community. And through the course, we should reflect on, and we can make your own points. Whatever we are discussing on digital technology adoption or sustainability or building resilient frameworks, you can then think about how does all of these relate to the problem which you have chosen. Some of these may be not fully relevant for you, some of these may work or may not work, so we will have that discussion. And everything we know, for every technology or different frameworks, all of these cannot be applied to our specific problem context. Problem context requires certain kinds of synthesis and idea, and some may not work, some may work. So keep that in mind. So next maybe 5 minutes I will request you to keep that problem in mind which you are very passionate about and you want to solve. And then maybe you can tell us what is the problem you are going to work on. Okay, thank you. Is it clear? If some of you want to work in groups together, that is also fine. So finally, whatever we learn, we should be able to apply to solve some real problems which the country is facing or the industry is facing. When my background has been in industry, I worked many years, and a lot of my research is actually motivated by the real problems. So I think this is very important. So we set the context of why we are learning this, right? So we should be able to solve some real problems. Maybe we will not be able to fully succeed in this, but at least it gives us the opportunity to think about whatever we are learning, some theories and concepts and frameworks, and how different companies or different countries have adopted. Can it be applied in Indian context, or is it very different, or why is it different? So that question we should always question ourselves. Whenever you are ready, if you want to share, please share those problem areas with me. Anybody, any thoughts?
Not really the problem, but a broader problem, which I was thinking. Is, our country is very price sensitive. So therefore, when you take sustainable measures, whether in the industry or anywhere, so there is a cost element to it also.
Yes.
Whether it is food. So now one picture that we can see here is the paradox is we have a sapling and we have a plastic water bottle in sustainable conference. That is a kind of
Yes.
what I am talking about. the
Yeah.
trade-offs. Okay. So now one greater point is, since this kind of conference can be organized either by the operations department or any other department.
Yes.
But since this is specifically related to HSS, right, how can we actually, technological solutions are there, but the human mindset,
Yes.
how can we actually change that going forward? Because there are people who want to practice it, but again, as I told you, that you are going to a shop and you have an organic product and this, and the price difference is so much that
Yeah.
you really can't afford that thing. So while the heart is there, but the mind cannot do that.
Yeah.
So that is the broader thing, which I think,
Yeah.
in order to give a push,
Yeah.
so that mindset change, how to bring about that, is something which I am really looking forward to.
No, that is very interesting. Both the points which you mentioned, clearly all of these have some investment, require some investments, which then impact the pricing, and this improves the buying power. So there is a trade-off. In most cases, there will be some trade-offs. The other point which you mentioned, at an organization level, at an individual level, it's a mindset. There is a lot of transformation which needs to happen to embrace any of these things. So particularly large organizations, it's a very difficult process, any kind of change. This is possibly not the way they have been doing business for many years, but now sustainability is already central to many companies' agenda. That doesn't mean that every problem has been solved. They are also taking baby steps. Maybe in the last 10 years they have done something, but still a lot of work needs to be done. Any other points? This is a very interesting problem. So you can reflect on whatever you are learning specifically for this. Anything else? Anybody else would like to talk about? Okay, I mean, we will not spend too much time, but you in your mind, you don't need to tell everybody or tell me right now, but keep that context in mind, right? So this is the problem I am very interested in. So whatever we are learning, can these be applied in this context? And if not, then why not? Or if yes, then why yes? Right? I will start with this picture. This is a lot of data driven innovation. This is one of the earliest examples. What can you notice from this? Does it ring a bell? Many of you might have already seen this. Right? This is an example from London. You can see that there are some street names there. There are some red dots, and there are some blue taps somewhere mentioned. What do you think this map signifies, or why was it used? Anything which comes to your mind?
The accumulation of more of the dots are at the middle of the point on a bigger spread.
Yeah.
So it might be showing that people are, whatever the things are, they are accumulated at a point rather than being spread over throughout the city kind of thing.
Okay, that's a fair point. It's actually a good start. This is related to a cholera outbreak which happened in London in 1813, I think. So one of the civil engineers working in the municipal corporation, he drew this map. So this is showing the number of deaths in the area, but every by street. In this street, this many people died. So obviously you can see some of the bigger dots. So many people died in this street, Broad Work Street or whatever, right? So he simply collected the data of deaths, and the size of the dots indicate the number of people who died. But what is interesting is, what is the problem you think he is trying to solve? Obviously, they have to solve this problem of reducing the deaths or making it zero, based on which happened because of the cholera outbreak. So he is entrusted with the task of solving the problem. How can we save people's lives from cholera, which is going on in London at that time? So first thing he did, he collected data about deaths. Where is the data he have? But what he did also is trying to then map them by the different streets. But he also has any municipal corporation will also have the data of where taps are there. That time there are no even in London there was no piped water to houses. There are community taps where people will go and collect water. So you can see the maximum deaths happened in this where this tap is there. So that maybe the more contamination is happening here. These ones nothing much happened. So all the people who collected water from possibly this tap died. So this was the first example of kind of data visualization, right? Data visualization and then problem solving using that root cause. So he actually the simplest solution was to took out this tap and then obviously it was sent for some analysis whether the level of bacterial contamination was there or not, but he simply changed that tap and that reduced the deaths because that tap was possibly contaminated. Right? This is an earliest example of kind of data visualization and analytics which is kind of more than 200 years ago. We have moved a lot from those years in early 1800s to now. Lot of digital transformation is happening. There are many different technologies which are adopted by different industries. We hear about autonomous robots, we hear about 3D printing, blockchain, augmented reality, big data analytics, industrial IoT, so many things. Even a lot of Indian companies have adopted this. But as Professor was mentioning, it's very difficult to navigate so many different technologies. We need to understand which is the particular technology or a set of technologies which is beneficial to achieve certain outcomes. This technology adoption is obviously we have to keep in mind this is not technology adoption per se, but we are trying to achieve certain outcomes, we are trying to address some problems and can these technologies support or facilitate us or act as enablers. Generally technology adoption is always an enabler. This is not a solution by itself, right? It will require many other things to happen and technology is kind of supporting that enabler. So we will follow that common theme of which technology and why those may be useful for addressing some of the specific problems. I give an example of this is again an Indian example. Some of you might have seen this. Have any of you heard about this company called Atanu Motors? This was started by a 14-year-old boy, maybe in 2014 or 15. He was a school dropout. He didn't even complete his high school, possibly he completed his 10th grade, but he was always fascinated by robots, fascinated by coding. He learned coding himself and then he went to one of the professors in IISc with his idea and they together, and he was very convinced, the professor was convinced that this boy has indeed had a lot of interesting ideas and they together worked on it. Right now you can search. They have created a very interesting product which is shown here. There are many different versions of it. So this is an autonomous robot used in factory or warehouse environment, fully automated, and it can also navigate different terrains. In our factory floors are not always smooth, our warehouses are also not smooth, maybe even the access to this is not smooth. So it can pretty much work on a different terrain. So this is one example of how and they included many things which is unique to the Indian context and everything is programmed in. So this is mainly used for transporting goods within a factory or a warehouse. You can see if you go to now Amazon or other warehouses, you will see many robots, but this is a completely indigenously developed robot looking at the problems being faced in the factory or warehouse floors in India. And that's how he came out with this idea. Now they have this product which is also selling not just in India but in different parts of the world. So I will give you many such examples which came either from India or different parts of the world where people have used technology to address some of the problems. At the other extreme, we also see big companies like GE or Siemens or Bosch. They have now developed IoT enabled digital twins and completely smart factories, right, with very little human intervention, almost everything working with clockwork like precision. All the machines are connected, you can connect data through sensors, you can have adaptive control, you can do the quality assurance, everything is done kind of autonomously with very little human intervention or paperwork. But again, it is very difficult that entire factory cannot be completely smart in Indian context. And increasingly we are also looking at solutions where technology will work together with human, right, cobots. So, you need to work, human and machine needs to work together. Similarly, at a more consumer level, we are also seeing these examples, like when you are trying to buy a car, Audi has come out with this. You can actually use VR, virtual reality, to find out the experience, the surroundings, the interiors of the car. You actually maybe experience this beforehand, before you go to the showroom. In the showroom, you again kind of extend that to see whether it matches what you need and you are trying to buy. Why do you think a car company is doing? They also want to understand our needs. They are collecting this data, and maybe this will lead to some different kinds of accessories design or different types of interior design. So, essentially they are using this, they are collecting lot of data about individual customer preferences. But customers also get something which is, they have the feeling that this is kind of customized for me. But also for virtual reality or augmented reality, there are a lot of applications now in servicing a car. Previously, it was very skill dependent. The individual technician, we all know in our garages or different service centers, it is the individual person, maybe that mechanic is very skilled, but once that person leaves, a lot of knowledge is lost. How to, and everybody will not be, cannot be trained to the same level, right. But if you have all of these, let us say manuals or how to guides, and it's available on a digital platform, then once a car comes in which needs to be serviced, then with a touch of a button the technician can really diagnose the problem, also understand what needs to be done, which parts need to be replaced. All of the things are available. So, it kind of in a way de-skills the person, but at the same time makes sure that all the standard operating practices, all the best practices are followed, right. It is not so much human dependent, because with the human dependent some mistakes might happen, they might forget something. In this it will not happen. Taking this idea of connectivity forward, this is an example I found when I used to work in Denmark. There is a company called Grundfos, which is a pump company, right. Obviously, pump companies manufacture and sell pumps, but they realized at that point of time, already 10-15 years ago, that their business model is changing. So, they are not necessarily selling just pumps, but these devices have to be connected, devices have to be smart. We will have to connect lot of data about usage of the pump, on what conditions, what temperature, humidity, etc. And then using that data, can we provide better service to the customers, and these customers are, many of them are industrial customers, be it a factory, it is an oil refinery, or it is a pharmaceutical plant where these pumps are used. But remember, for those customers, servicing a pump or maintaining a pump is not their core business, right. So, they are running their factory, they are using this pump for a specific application, but if you want to improve the performance of the pump, that is, they are not the best people to do it. So, ideally Grundfos is the best person to do it. So, they will, so then they realize that pump was initially the product, then I will sell pump plus some spares and other kind of services. Then people may not even buy a pump. Nowadays, we are moving to where we are leasing or renting this. So, pump essentially becomes a service. From a product, it becomes a completely different scenario, that pump itself is a service. They will not buy the pump, but whatever the pump is, maybe have a flow rate of this at this temperature from this height to this height, that itself is specified, and you have to provide that as a service. Finally, even water or fluid as a service. They do not even care whether you are using a pump, maybe there is another device, right. So, but from a company's perspective, this is a very different business model, from selling a product or a pump to selling pump as a service or water or fluid as a service. It requires lot of changes. Without data collection and analytics, they will not be able to navigate this journey. There are many examples of these, what we call in operations or supply chain literature, about servitization, right. So, product based companies are moving to service led business models, because that is where they also make more money, and in a way this is also supporting sustainability, because you are not necessarily buying the product, you are trying to optimize the usage and the performance of the product, and also moving to a more leasing or renting kind of a business model. So, Caterpillar is another company which makes big construction equipment vehicles. They have already moved in that direction. But as the professor was mentioning, it is a long process. Even if it makes sense conceptually, how do we really implement it? There are many challenges. This business model transformation has to happen. Customer also have to accept this. Customer education is important. There is a lot of cultural and organizational shift which needs to happen. There are, remember, the salespeople in these companies, they are always trained to sell the products. Suddenly they are selling service. The value proposition they have to communicate to the customer is totally different, and it might seem costly to the customer initially, but you have to show that over a period of usage of that pump, maybe over 10-15 years, the customer will actually save money. So that requires certain calculations and life cycle analysis and so on, and salespeople will not be initially not be trained in this. So it requires a huge amount of transformation to do this. It also requires investment in data security and privacy. A lot of data is collected. Always the question arises, is this whose data? You are collecting data from my factory where this pump is installed, but is it my data or your data? You are then using it for different purpose. How do I know whether you are using the data also to sharing the data with my competitors or not? So all these kind of questions arise. There are many such companies. This is another, and why I give this example is, always it is not the large companies. Many small companies are also moving in this direction. So this is a company called TrackWrap. So they make this packaging solutions, and they make the machinery for packaging. Right? In any factory or even in airports, we see our luggages are kind of wrapped and packed. Right? So they make the machines which then do the packaging for different kinds of products. It is a small to medium company, and they also realized that finally how many wraps they are able to do in what amount of time, that is what customers are interested in. They are not really interested in buying the machine. So they also moved in this direction. Obviously they partnered with Siemens. Siemens was providing the platform for collecting the data, but it was installed in their machines and they moved. So it requires a movement toward more integrated life cycle solutions, not just a single product sold to the customer and you forget it. You have to now track and manage the data over the usage of the life cycle of the product. So increasing customer intensity, customer centricity, moving to complete integrated solutions, emphasis on contracting and agreements, what data will customers provide. Yeah, sure. Or also project management. Once the customer has bought it, they are not the experts in this. Once this is used, how this will be implemented in the company, that project management part is also responsibility of this company now. An emphasis on also customer intelligence, that means collecting data about its usage and providing that dashboard or feedback back to the customers. This also requires moving from kind of remote diagnostics to fully digital solutions. I understand some of these may be a little bit more technical, but I am also coming from engineering and operations background. But you will see, you can reflect on how each of these things require some organizational elements, some training elements and people mindset. So moving from condition based monitoring to dynamic planning of maintenance to asset performance, many companies are also now having a control tower where they have everything, full digital visibility of how their different assets are working, right? Geolocation technologies, GPS, but in a more industrial context, and finally autonomous systems and AI. Collecting lot of unstructured data, some are text data, some are numeric data about usage. Sometimes in this kind of factory environments, maintenance records are still manual. People are writing some of the maintenance history. So there will be some text. Some of these are moved to digital, but some of these still may remain in a text form. So how do we use these different formats, and whenever a machine is not starting, for example, can we quickly diagnose? So this requires, so Siemens Gamesa and Honeywell, they have been doing. Siemens, I have seen this in Denmark. They have a factory, so they make large wind turbines, and I went to their controls center once. There were 5 people monitoring more than 2,000 wind turbines, only 5 people sitting in one room. They have different screens, and those people have actually developed models. They have developed 53 machine learning based models to predict failure of parts within the wind turbine. Now they have converted everything to a digital solution, and on a screen they can monitor. And if something is coming up based on their models which shows that something is likely to fail, or there is a possibility of some kind of a breakdown, they are already alerted. Based on that, they send the maintenance technician. Sometimes they are able to do remotely, but they all built the models in house. None of them were data scientists. They are all kind of physicists or different mechanical or reliability engineers, and they build using their knowledge, they build these models, and then they were using this with only 5 people monitoring 2000 plus wind turbines across the world. Right? Similar things also can be done, but depending on, as we again said, yes, we have some question.
This part I want to understand that sometimes I may be from a chemical based industry and my core competency is not this, so I outsource it to a
Yeah.
Siemens or some kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now sometimes we also have the risk of getting trapped
Yeah.
because they are controlling, like you said, remote controlling
Yeah.
passwords and lot of things.
Yes.
And even if we try to transfer that knowledge, so they are not forthcoming with sharing the knowledge. So it's just very basic things that they share.
Yeah.
So in that sense, and also like and we are actually depending on them to build up our whole internal system integrated. So sometimes it is very difficult for us to exit from the contract clause to some other competitor because we are specifically after
Yes.
year 1, year 2, year 3 like that.
Yes. That's why when you take this decision, it has to be thought of very well. It is a long-term contract. It's difficult to come out of these contracts. But at the same time, if this company is providing enough value to you, it doesn't matter you lose a little bit of a control. That is the basis of any kind of outsourcing.
Problem is, sir,
Yeah.
not that. If everything is smooth, then
Yeah.
it's fine. But sometimes what it happens is that there is some kind of disalignment or
Yes.
disengagement, and it might be because
No, yes. That part particularly is this data security and data ownership becomes a problem.
and sometimes these companies also, what I have seen is they phase out their products, and what happens is that you have to get the intentionally perhaps that, they, and that's a huge kind of like as you said, as a service.
Yes.
I can tell you that past one experience of mine that a company was a software IT hardware company was they gave us a quotation for some value, and I told the management that it's not wise to go in for this inventory because it will be difficult to dispose of also. So you go for a leasing or renting kind of thing. Now they were when the negotiation came, they went down if I buy it outright, they are willing to give a huge discount. But in that leasing or renting part, it almost comes out to be the same. But still we went for the leasing and renting. So this pricing factor also.
Yes. That is very, very important. That's why I'm glad that you did that calculation and analysis. Right? Many companies are not even doing that. Then it comes very much as a surprise to them. So when you create a business case, this entire life cycle also has to be over 15-20 years. What is the value? And we create some kind of decision models, decision tree. There is a bit of uncertainty. Things may not work. They might go out of business. All of these things have to be taken care of. If it's not a single one-time decision for these kind of assets, right? This is high valued assets for you. You are sharing lot of your IP and data with this company. But again, most of the companies may not have internal expertise to do anything like this. That's why Siemens, I liked it. They actually developed everything in-house from scratch. There were 5 people they motivated, and they were all, as I said, none of them, these people had real expertise in building those models. They were metallurgical engineers or reliability engineers, but they learned everything on their own and they did this. Right? Maybe there was some incentive for them, they got promoted or got a high thing, but they developed, and some of the European companies I have seen, there is not a hurry. Everybody is doing, so we have to do now. They are willing to do very thorough work even if it takes for 2-3 years. Then they are able to do it. Sometimes we are under lot of pressure because there is a competitive pressure and other things, and we already kept it late. So then you don't have much time. Within 6 months you have to do it. These things cannot happen in 6 months. Right? It requires a lot of serious thought and analysis.
That is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Building the environment to
Yeah.
promote or nurture this internally is very, very important for an
Plus, even if it's outsourced to somebody else, there has to be an internal team who fully understands this and the implications of it. If you are completely dependent, then you will be taken for a ride. They will be they will understand that you don't know much of it, right? You are simply an user, you don't know what is going inside these models, how it works. Then you are, so this is important to, even if you kind of give it to somebody else, have that internal expertise. Some people.
Practicality is that most organizations, they don't, like you said, that there has to be some resource persons who are given the incentive and also the environment in the
Yeah.
organization. As it is, they are such loaded with their own work that
Yes.
getting them to
Yes.
get that is also.
This is something outside their regular duty they are doing, right? But some companies, when you will see that they are allowing some portion of their time that you can work on innovative projects, right? You cannot work more than 100% all the time. So they will say 20% of the time, maybe one day in a week, you devote to this work. There are other such examples. This is also another company. This was formed by people who used to work in Volvo construction equipment. So this is a company based in Sweden, Track Unit. So for all the construction equipment machines, they use these telemetry solutions. So they collected lot of data, even in terms of how the driver is driving this product, what is the braking frequency, how much fuel is consumed, driver's usage patterns, and then they could optimize it. So one big problem was whenever a vehicle is needed like this is not available. This is under breakdown, this is not working, the drivers are also not available. So they realized they need to collect this data, and that's why this company Track Unit came in, and then they are now doing this for many of the construction equipment suppliers. I will not move into, there are things similar to this, but maybe to move into have this discussion around product as a service model, there are many things which needs to happen. One is a technological solution, but improved communication of this customer value. That is the first thing. As a service providers, most of them are highlighting only the technological solution. They fail to highlight what is the real business benefit or value to the customer. That's not easy to do, that economics part, the financial implications of it, unless that person is both trained in the they can also understand the technical aspects as well as trained in the business and the economic and the financial evaluations. Many people will not be able to do this. Then the appropriate pricing model, as I said. So it should not look like you are charging more just because you are moving to a service model. The initial upfront investment may be high, but over a period of time, life cycle of 20 years usage, you will actually save money, but that whatever savings you are doing has to be communicated to the customer. Also internally cross functional communication, both within your company as well as in the customer company. Even in the customer's company, it's not just the marketing or business development people maybe you are interacting with, or maybe their procurement people you are interacting with, but they are not the users. The users are maybe the people in the factory, maybe people in the service, or maybe even a technician. So it's always, we say that we need to talk to every level of users. Maybe the CIO is taking the decision, but the CIO is not using this machine, it's being used by either the production team or the service team or even service technicians. A good company is who will interact with all these kinds of people and try to understand their pain points, and then demonstrate to almost each of these stakeholders how this solution is adding value to them. Any questions at this stage? So we have talked about some product as service solutions. We looked at a few digital technology examples, AR, VR. We talked about autonomous robots. Yeah. Okay.
You first of all said that you may solve a problem, but I have think that one problem that in India there are many small retailers, more than 2, 3, 4 crores in our India retailer shops. But now time is to this part coming a very big giant companies like you example that when we go to grocery stores
Hmm.
in early days, but now came like Blinkit, Zepto. First of all, they are say that we are go small retailers and keep the things and we deliver people. But now they are do that. They are direct deal with big company and they they store that product and then they delivers people. So it that going that how small retailers are survive this situation. This is very
Yes.
very big problem that one survey was doing that more than 80 lakh retailers are very disappointed and they have nothing to do what in early days are coming. That what is the solution
Yes.
in this
There is no
time
easy
situation?
solution, but you gave example of retail, but this is happening everywhere, even restaurants in the same way. We are all buying
Yes,
using
sir.
Zomato or Swiggy. Individual restaurants are also, they are pressurized a lot, right? Their margins are reducing. Many of them are going out of business. Previously, we used to know all the restaurants. Now we don't know because they are almost, their name has been removed from our memory. We are buying using all the food delivery platforms. Same thing is also happening with retail. So there is a limit to, I personally feel there is a place for everybody, right? If some player or some solution is taking the jobs away or completely decimating a particular industry, that's not possibly good. Not possibly good, particularly also in the Indian context. In all the villages and in the small towns, if everybody starts only using digital platforms, this is also creating pressure on the customers and the senior citizens. They are not able to buy this. They are not able to use the apps properly. Even if they have to always go, even in Bangalore I have seen, so people are, even the autos or the rickshaws, you have to now book using Ola app. And the older people are finding difficult even to just go 10 minutes. Previously there used to be a local auto fellow. Now they are all Ola, right? So this is also, so this is related to also digital divide. It is creating a huge digital divide in the society. It is marginalizing lot of retailers or small businesses, and suddenly all the power is in the hands of very few entities who are essentially using them. You are creating a platform, but you are trying to buy and you are squeezing them, you are trying to get the maximum out of them, but they are losing a lot of money. So it's a question, it's a catch-22 situation for this. If these players do not join the platform, they lose. If they join the platform, they also lose, right? So there has to be some kind of an economics language, has to be an equilibrium solution for something. What is the limit to where we will allow this to happen? Maybe you have some points.
In this connection only, it's, he talked about Blinkit and Zepto. So, like, what I feel is, like, even if you look at the gig workers who are engaged,
Yeah.
Their work hours are extreme.
Yes.
They are paid very poorly.
Yes.
Okay. And somehow, what I feel is that is another aspect that we need to look into, even the
Yes.
government, or because they are the, policy decision makers. And
Yes.
what I referred was, that you also referred to a very good point, because there are, senior citizens who get down at a railway station or airport, and there they are, coming after a long journey, and they are not very much savvy. So you should have these options, like we have options for credit card, net, whatever, these kind of things. So there should always be options. So this is a simple policy related matter. Now, governance and is also a very much an important arm in this,
Yes.
sustainability thing. So we should realize, but I see that a lot of these, nowadays, the government, etc., they are getting those electoral bonds, some kind of donations, and while they have a duty towards society, it is more towards corporates and etc. that they are, and then
Plus,
common
there may
man
be a
suffers.
different motive, right? We all thought demonetization and then all the UPI payments, but now government is using that for taxing purpose. Suddenly, all these people, even the roadside vendor, have to pay tax because that's a big problem. Maybe the government's big motivation was to increase more people who are paying taxes. We cannot blame the government for that. But then, lot of data has been kind of, people had to share a lot of data. But what you will see, what I find difference between India and some of the other countries, Germany as an example, they will keep the personal life and the industrial completely different. Industrial, they are highly digitalized, but in personal, they still pay using cash. Lot of the things are still done in the one way because exactly the same reason. They don't want to, finally it is for the society, right? If finally society is not benefiting or they are facing lot of difficulties and you are getting power only in the hands of few people, they consciously decided that in personal digitalization's place we will go slow. In our case, we had to go personal digitalization at a much higher level, and the industry is actually lagging behind because maybe the realities are different. So, without being an expert, I cannot tell, but obviously maybe government thought that but at the same time, India is also kind of given as an example of how digital payment systems should work, which is not there anywhere in the world. But at the same time, we are seeing some negative consequences, some unintended consequences, right? Maybe the initial motivation was different, but it is leading to some kind of unintended consequences that a lot of these either parts of the society is getting alienated or some of the smaller businesses are losing money.
Also, a lot of cyber crimes.
Yes, yes.
Most senior citizens are affected.
Yes, cyber crime rate I think in India is very high compared to other parts of the world. There are so many multi-factor authentications, even in banks everywhere in UK or in other parts of Europe. It is very difficult to navigate those systems for hackers. But Indian system, I think we still have some problems there. Okay, so I will. There are lots to discuss in this, as you can think about. I will just briefly. I do a lot of work on 3D printing. I will not talk a lot about it, but again, to show how technology also is facilitating sustainability. In this case, many of the examples where you see companies are manufacturing parts using 3D printing is to reduce the weight of the product, right? Instead of having, so previously an assembly used to be there with 30, 40, 50 parts. Suddenly, if you make an integral design, the individual assembly, so much of assembling, fastening, etc. is removed. And the internal design, as you can see here, is lattice structure design. So you can have more lightweighting structures. You don't need to have lot of solid metal inside the body. And this is particularly useful for aerospace and automotive applications, as you can see. Any few kilograms of the weight of the product you reduce, it directly impacts the fuel efficiency. That means you are reducing the consumption of fuel, which is indirectly then improving the carbon footprint of the product. But this is not the only reason. There are obviously also technical reasons of improving the durability of the product and so on. Lot of these are used for spare parts applications. So spare parts, again, keeping inventory of these parts are very difficult and costly, so this is reducing. Many companies are moving in this direction. Obviously aerospace, automotive, medical device, these are more, but this is also from a sustainability point of view quite interesting. This is a very interesting example I found, and this was done by some of the students like you. So there was a master student in one of the UK universities, I think he was from Exeter. He was a design engineering student. As part of his master's project, he did a project. He was from the area of Cornwall. Cornwall is in the south of England. So this is all the sea beach town, very famous. Lot of fishing industry is there. And he grew up seeing lot of fishing nets being discarded in the ocean, right? And he said there has to be some problem which I will like to solve as part of my project. So he thought, how can we use that fishing net material to produce something? Luckily for him, there was another company in that same area who was collecting those fishing nets, and they were converting those to 3D printing filaments. So using that nylon, they were making filaments. So he also got in touch with that gentleman and tried to understand what is the material composition. And then he did a parallel study, and I was also quite shocked and amazed. I never knew this. It seems 97% of the buttons in the world comes from one city in China. Only 3% is produced elsewhere, Portugal, Turkey, little bit in India. Even simple buttons we don't produce, only one city in China. Can you imagine the carbon footprint of the buttons, which is going all over the world? So he decided, I will produce buttons. Obviously, UK had a long history of textile industry and buttons used to be produced. Nowadays, there is no button being produced in UK. So he said, I will use local material to produce buttons. Why don't I use this fishing net material to produce these buttons? So he learnt everything about that process, the 3D printing, and he created these 3D printed buttons, and also specific application for shirts used by older people. So these buttons are designed in such a way that it is very easy to remove. Older people have less dexterity and so on. So you can imagine the kind of project it is. It is a very high risk project. For the one lesson for you is, don't follow what everybody else is doing. Do something very different. This is a real problem he understood because he lived in that area. Luckily for him, this company was also there. It's called Fishy Filaments. They take they make filaments out of these fishing nets, and using that material he is able to produce the buttons, and then later on he developed a company and is actually selling to big retailers these buttons now. Locally produced, very small carbon footprint, locally produced buttons using all discarded material. So the carbon footprint of this he showed. So 73 of these buttons produced locally is equivalent to one button produced in China.
What is the name of that place in China?
That name I forgot. I will try to find that out. Yeah, he said to me, I forgot. This 3D printing, let me skip. In 3D printing also there is a lot of security issues, right? You are sharing this file, sharing the design file. What if somebody copies? That is always a question in people's mind, like the OEM, the innovator who has the design, they are always very reluctant to share that file, because moment it is shared and then using that file somebody is producing that object, always it's there in people's mind. Many large companies, even Siemens told me that they are not going to do this with an external service provider. Siemens is doing everything internally, that's why they don't want to share this. That's why these companies like this Authentize, and there is another company which came up. Now they are looking at only at the cyber security aspects of say 3D printing. Now they are using blockchain or NFT based solutions, so there is a complete traceability. Authentize solution was that this will be there for whatever times you want to use it, 4 times, 5 times. After that the file automatically becomes corrupt. Nobody can use that file. If you are supposed to produce 5 parts, after that 5 part is produced, this becomes corrupt. But now there are more advanced solutions using non-fungible tokens or blockchain based solutions which are coming up. Blockchain also I have done some work. Again you can see there are some good applications, but it has not taken off in the way because it is very complex. Again who is going to collect all of these data? Who is going to share all of these data, and which data ownership is there? Plus on the ground implementing it's a big challenge, but still there are some good applications of it. In agriculture field, even in India, one of my previous IIM Lucknow student, he has a company called MR Innovations. They are doing lot with farmers in Maharashtra, fruit and vegetable farmers and cooperatives, and they have implemented blockchain solutions. It is important for Indian agricultural produce to tap into the export market. We don't see a lot of Indian produce in European markets, mainly because of this either quality issues or lack of traceability of that quality. You always wants who is the farmer, how did you produce it, what fertilizer you use, all of this data is not available to us. So that's why some of these companies, even if you see, they are coming up, and if all of this data is collected and made available to the buyer, then the buyer can very quickly see that you have followed the good practices, you have the certification, and then they can do this. Heineken is a beer company, but they have also used this for one particular raw material, which is hop, which is used as an additive in the beer. So they collected lot of environmental data. So what is the water consumption for this, what is the carbon footprint and water footprint, and then with the when you as a when you buy the beer, using the beer bottle, there is a QR code, you can actually check to see where it came from. Similarly, there are a lot of examples in coffee, in cocoa, these kind of agricultural commodity markets. Coffee, there is a company in Colombia, they have done this. So, previously we are paying a lot of money to Starbucks, right, but do you know how much money is paid to the farmer? If you are paying $5 for a coffee, the farmer is getting less than 1 cent, between 1 and 5 cent for something which is sold at $5, because it is buying in the commodity market, and the farmers are completely exploited, like the same way you are saying. Farmer is doing all the work, we are paying also as a lot, but farmer is not getting anything. So, what this company did, they collected lot of data, but the most important data was the farm gate price. That means the price paid to the farmer, they made it transparent. Now, everybody who is in the coffee supply chain, also there are many players, like there are roaster and others, that finally it is being exported. So, everybody now could see what is the price being paid to the farmer. Then when Starbucks and other big companies were buying, they were also shocked, they didn't even know. They were paying maybe $3 something and they are selling at $5. But what is being paid to the farmer is even so low. Then they realize, unless we pay the farmer well, we are not going to buy, because that if that news comes out, then the big companies are aware of the negative press, that how come you are selling a coffee for $5 and the farmers who are producing the coffee is getting 1 cent, right. So, then they realized, okay, they should pay the farmer more, and it all started with that company. So, they made that price transparent, but they also collected lot of data about the practices in the farm and so on. But in similar case, it is not an easy problem. In the coffee supply chain, suppose in a village they are growing coffee, right. Everybody also in the family is involved in coffee trade. Maybe you are a farmer, your uncle is actually buying from you, then somebody is selling, somebody is storing and warehousing. If all the middlemen are eliminated using blockchain, then they will also lose business. So, in this Colombia case, they said it will be a bloodbath in my village. My uncle will come and kill me if you do like this. So, that means in that case they could not remove all the middlemen. The middlemen were also, they will still continue to be there, but if everybody is benefiting from this, then they will have less incentive to defect, right. They will also be on the blockchain platform. There are other examples. Maybe this one is important for Indian context also. A lot of now you will see even IIT graduates or a lot of people with engineering degrees, they are involved in agriculture. I think this is a high need. This is absolutely addressing the real need of more scientific based farming, using also it can be used for weather forecasting, using the sensor to collect the moisture content in the soil or the soil composition, because everything, it is not that the farmers do not know anything, but their knowledge is restricted to age old practices which they have been doing. But now things have changed so much that the weather conditions are very different, the soil has been depleted of many of the nutrients. So, it has to be kind of customized for the local. That means you need to collect the data, find out what is the best cropping pattern, how to fertilize it, or what kind of water you want to reduce the water consumption. This cannot be done without technology, right. If the educated people, engineers get into this field, even optimizing the crop harvesting time, reducing the risk of disease and infestations, this will help, and many of the work currently done in India is in this area. Plus another very important area is healthcare, right. Any kind of technology adaptation, a lot of examples of different companies you will see they are using AI for now screening of patients, also screening of drugs to find out which drug combination will give the best results. That used to take a lot of time, but in this case, let us say for patients, prevention is always better than cure. So, if you are able to detect early chances of cancer or any kind of disease, but that is very difficult, that is very data intensive, and that is where technology, AI and other technologies are coming in. So, people are able to predict chances of a person contacting certain diseases. There are also many examples in retail. I will not cover this so much, but this is a good example of, since we are talking about the transformation, this article I have put in the readings, you can see. This is about Unilever. Obviously, Unilever is a very big company, they have lot of resources, but you can see how they moved in their digital and data driven transformation journey. It also, even in Unilever, it is not so easy to do. This was always considered as a support function, any kind of analytics or market research, they are not core. But then this person came in, I think this Mr. Atanu, who is one of the co-authors of this, he really transformed this market research function to something central for all kinds of decision making which is happening in Unilever. One part of it, and then he created many different projects on social media analytics, on analyzing Twitter chatter. So, this is really helpful for Unilever, but at the same time Unilever historically have been doing lot of research, and lot of those research are like the very big reports they have internally. So, he digitalized all of these, and those text data was analyzed. It is not that everybody has to reinvent the wheel. Maybe a study has been done in shampoo market in India for many years. Now, if you are trying to launch a shampoo, you should actually go back to what has been done before, like a literature review, right. But in a company like this, there were no option. Previously, a new marketing person comes, joins the company, maybe from one of the top business schools in India, they will have to start their own project on their own. But now they have an option to look at the data, the reports coming up from our older projects, synthesize those findings, and then move on to do something new. So, they created a lot of projects. I will strongly recommend that you go through this article. They also mention about this framework is very interesting. You see kind of a left brain and right brain thing. So, one is about data sources, obviously, right. So, you have to collect lot of data. Which data to collect? Most companies struggle, irrespective of whether it is a consumer company or industrial company. Typically, you can collect hundreds of thousands of different data points, but everything you do not need. Which are the top ones to collect? Some internal data, some external data. Then also, how do you integrate those data to create certain insights? You need strategy, marketing, communication. In this case of Unilever, other companies might be something else. Plus, you also, many companies in consumer industries have realized, P&G and Unilever, that they cannot have all the expertise in house. There are many startups which are coming up who have lot of ideas and expertise, right. How do we use the knowledge generated by the startups? They bring them, they also fund them, and have that experimentation culture, working with the startups and learn from them and use some of these. Finally, organizational capabilities need to be developed, internal training, some internal people needs to be developed, and this collaboration orientation. It is not function, not department, but how we work together to do this happen. So, this is even from a data or a digital transformation, this is very important. This is also okay, this one I can skip maybe. IKEA is a case we will cover on the 4th day, I think. Again, we will come back to that. So, they are using also a lot of digital activities in this. Yeah. So, this one, digital product passport. I do not know how much time, I think I am almost coming towards the close, but I will just briefly talk about this. This is part of my recent research. This is Indian companies are not still fully aware of it, but this is coming up in European Union. So, this is already part of European Union's government strategy, and starting from 2026 onwards, many products will have to have this passport. It is essentially the history of the product, both static data as well as dynamic usage of the product data will be captured through this chip, and on the product, if you scan, you will be able to find it. Why European Union is doing this? Because first of all, many of the materials used in the product are not locally produced. So, there is a strong motivation to recycle or reuse many of these materials. Lot of these are, as you know, are also high value materials. These are also rare earth materials. So, there is a need to recycle and reuse these materials. But once the product like a phone or any electronic devices comes back, it is very difficult to decide what to do with that product. Whether you reuse or recycle or remanufacture, all the R's for circular economy, again we will cover that, is very difficult. So, unless we have data about not just where it was produced, what is the material, but how it was used, how many times it's changed hands in a consumer product, it is even more difficult. But industrial product, what is the condition, temperature, humidity, vibration, how many times it has gone maintenance, how many times it was repaired, all this data has to be there. So, I can assess What is the condition of the product now? Can it be really reused in something else, or can it be recycled or remanufactured? So, that is the motivation. Circular economy is a big motivator for European Union to move into this digital product passport. But what they are saying is the first product which will go is the car batteries, electric vehicle batteries, and already Volvo is 2 years ahead of time. They have already announced that they are ready. It is going to be done in 2026, but in 2024 itself they have said that Volvo that for their electric cars they are ready. And it is very interesting. Volvo, as you know, is a Swedish company, but now owned by a Chinese company, and they are producing this product in US. So, they have already made this kind of global. So, European Union is also wary. This idea came from Europe, but China has already taken that idea, and they have already already launching the product. Then the industrial products, the electronics products will come in, textile also they want to do this, plus even construction. Now, what is written in fine print here is, though this is a European law, let us say a car company, Renault or somebody in Europe, they will have to do this, but all the parts of the product comes from different parts of the world. Even Indian companies are part of the supply chain, right? Even in the battery, maybe some Indian companies are involved. They are saying, irrespective of whatever law exists in your country, you still have to follow this. You have to share data on that passport, right? And if Indian companies are not ready, they will lose this opportunity. I do not know how many companies know it, that this is coming, and this is coming for many different industries, in the electronics, in other kinds of industrial products. Textile, there are a lot of Indian companies involved. Welspun, we will cover a case. Welspun is a big textile player. So, they also have to do this if they have to sell to European retailers, this kind of traceability. This data is there. I will request that you go through this, and if you have any questions, we will do. It is primarily for circular pathway. For circular economy, they are saying this is most important. They also helps the company transition to a circular economy and ensure that the end of use product is treated safely and the materials are circulated. There are many other things. Some of the things I will cover little bit in the first part of the afternoon session, and then we will go through the case studies and exercises. There are lots to cover. I think the slides will be there with you, but I think what we have covered now is a kind of very broad overview of different digital technologies in different industrial environments, retail environment, healthcare, agriculture. Depending on the problem which you want to address, think how these are useful or not useful. Have that thinking in your mind, and as we go on, we will discuss. Any final comments from you? Anybody? Yeah.
Actually, a couple of points. One, we have, we had been following earlier, 90s, the Porter's value chain framework,
Yeah.
where he talked about the primary activities in logistics, and there was the secondary activities, HR, in which technology is also considered to be a secondary activity.
Yes.
So, in this change scenario, do you envisage that technology is now a part of the primary, part?
Yes, I think so, because many people also in the industries I have talked, they say digital transformation itself now is wrong. Everything is already digital. They have going in this, so there is no really need of transformation. And digital decision making, as even in this Unilever case, you will see that was the motivation. So, they are no longer a support function. So, any analytics or digital innovation is part of every function within Unilever, right. So, that means digital is already embedded. So, it cannot be a support function. It is a very good point that maybe we need to revisit Porter's framework.
Is there, coming from you as an expert, is there somebody in literature who has, modified it somewhat?
No, I have not seen, I have not followed so much of the strategy literature, I will not be say, but I do not think I have seen this, where they have not just conceptually telling, but empirically have they validated, right. Are they seeing that the companies are moving in this direction? But when we talk to companies, we see they are already telling that sustainability cannot be a separate function, digital cannot be a separate function. It has to be embedded within every function, right. That means it is already part of every core activity. Many companies started off with a separate sustainability function, right. Then they were chasing every company, and that itself creates kind of a negative thing, that you are a support function and I have to just satisfy you. moment you realize that it is sustainability is core of what we are doing in manufacturing or procurement or R&D, then it's not a somebody else who is going to come and help you. You have to do that, take the decision yourself, right? From a company's point of view, it's a big change. R&D engineers have to now think of alternate materials or more sustainability at the design stage itself. Previously, they were just providing the data to that sustainability team. That is different from you actually using the data and taking decisions, right? So I think both sustainability and digital are now, at least for the good companies, it's already embedded. It cannot be like a separate support function.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, please.
So like India is being a labor intensive around the world. So AR for, we are like Western industries or the automobile sector, they are using AR for services and maintenance.
Yeah.
So how we can make our like our youth or the manpower in India to like build more knowledge about this, and we can also implement these things in our automobile sector. So
Yes. One thing which we always say, that this should not, the objective should not be to replace people, right? Technology, if you are able to train our people to use the technologies which will improve their productivity, and that time which is freed, they should use for something else more meaningful, right? Previously, even a maintenance technician, maybe he is spending lot of time to even figure out what the problem is. His job is to solve the problem, to get my car ready, right? But if he is struggling to even find out what went wrong, that is not the best use of his time. So if AR is helping in that activity, so that his person's productivity is improved, the person who is actually giving the car for servicing, getting a car in less time, that is beneficial for both, and the person gets trained. Person gets trained in how to use AR. Whatever, maybe in 8 hours now, he can actually do more cars, service more cars, plus additional time maybe he can use for training. So overall, the skill level of the employees are increasing. So that should be the motive. It's not that it is replacing people. Obviously, in foreign in Western world, the number of people are so less, they are almost forced to do. In our case, it's a completely different scenario. We have so many people who also have to have jobs. So it's always, we are coming from a little bit different motivation why we should do this. Their case, they have no people, maybe only few people are working, so how to maximize? In our case, we have lot of people. At the same time, improving productivity of these people, getting the best use of the time, and from the customer perspective, reducing the overall turnaround time is important. If it is helping, if I am a service, if I am a dealer for say Tata Motors, I should do this, but again I should do this as a pilot. Instead of trying to roll out everything across the country for every dealership, I should choose some locations, I will pilot this, scientifically measure the impact of it. Does it improve really productivity? Does it improve customer satisfaction? What is the financial impact of it? Then I should do this. If not, if it is actually having a negative impact, I should not. Okay, I will stop here. So Vikas will come over now.
There's a break for 10 to 15 minutes. We'll join back in 15 minutes.